And I'm live with another podcast. Mike here, just by myself doing a solo thing, just 'cause we haven't done a podcast, me and Jeff, for a while since he started a new job. But that's something we can kind of touch on when he actually podcast next. But he's a little busy right around now, and since we haven't done one for a while, I figured just do one on my own. And just kind of talk about the Flyers trade that happened today and just kind of what's kind of been going on with the team in the last couple of or last week or so since we last podcasted. Um, when in which the Flyers finally snapped a losing streak, which I'll get to. Obviously, I think I said it already, but the Flyers made a trade sending Jordan Weal to Arizona, which is a little not the best trade really, but I'll get to that to give my opinion on that and kind of what I'm thinking of what's going to happen next. Um, but I guess we can kind of first start off or talking about the Flyers win the other last night against the Dallas Stars. One in which the Flyers actually played pretty well in, minus a few like minor things where they in the third period a lot too. They kind of were outplayed, but for the majority of the game, they were actually playing well and playing the way everyone probably thought they were gonna play. Not what they've been playing with in the last like 9 games or so. Um, but yeah, it was a good sign to see that they were gonna win, but there's no way I think the Flyers are gonna make the playoffs. It's pretty much a lost season at this point. That losing streak did not help much. 2-6-2 in the last 10, not great. Um, they're bleeding fans. Um, tickets to last night's game were only $8. There were some tickets going that cheap. That's how little fanfare they're kind of getting, and kind of no blame to them. Honestly, just goes for how poorly they've played, and honestly, they've been kind of boring to watch too. For a league that's kind of getting more speed and skill, the Flyers just kind of look slow and for the most part just kind of outplayed all the time. So this is kind of something that's not the best look for the team. So um, this might just be a lost season at this point. It's probably better to do worse or stay around where we are now than it is to get close or start winning and get to the playoffs or get close to the playoffs even though they're not going to make the playoffs. I'd rather have the better draft pick if I'm honest here, and I'm actually okay if it is a lost season. With it being a lost season, because if they don't, if Chuck Fletcher doesn't blow up the team too terribly much, because there's rumors starting out now that more trades and everything are imminent. The one major one being Wayne Simmons is most likely going to be traded. Where to, no one really knows, but he could possibly be traded. Who knows when? Um, but until then, this is kind of teamwork. If we keep it together, I forgot for a second what I was gonna get to, but if we kind of stick with the same team or similar team, I need another player. Not saying we get Jack Hughes, but and just for this argument sakes, I'm just gonna kind of use him as a name. Say we add Jack Hughes to an already team on paper that should be competing. That's I think is a good thing. If you add another player like Jack Hughes, who's a center, you can add some speed and good hands and scoring and everything. And another piece like that, and if Ross makes the team and everything, that could be a good start for the Flyers. Um, a good thing for the Flyers going forward next season and on. Um, this season's a loss, so don't expect them to make the playoffs. And at this point, we can kind of see how well the Flyers are going to play under Dave Scott. Yeah, under the current coaching situation. Obviously not going to make a second firing or anything. Just to kind of go off that, but he's not really lighting a lamp, and the whole reason why both Dave's Hextall and Hextall were fired were because the team was losing attendance essentially, and no one's really caring about the Flyers. So they wanted to make them a little more entertaining, and at the moment they don't really playing well enough to build. So I'm assuming here in January 11th being the date, I think by the end of the season, there's going to be a more coaching search, someone to kind of get people to be excited about the team, something to get the team jump started. Obviously, trading Wayne Simmons should be one where you kind of, I don't know if really, it could be a jump start for the team. It really shakes up everything and shows guys that it's new management, could be a different thing, and no matter what you come out of the trade, whether you get prospects or anything, because there's been rumors that there've been Chuck Fletcher's looking to get some players that can play now in the NHL, either first, second, or worst, third center. Goalie they're looking to possibly trade for, and a veteran defenseman that can help the young decor, and prospects obviously. And there hasn't been anything rolled out of possibly trading young prospects and draft picks that require draft picks and prospects. So we'll have to wait and see what happens in the next month or so when the trade deadline gets closer. Today, for some reason, just seemed to be a busy day, just kind of going off on this one. A big day trades-wise. There's been about 5 or 6 trades today. One yesterday, too. So, yeah, about 6 or 7 trades in the last, day or so. And the Flyers being one of them, in which the Flyers traded away Jordan Weal for to Arizona for a 6th-round pick and a defenseman. Hold on, I should have had this up. And Jacob Graves, who is already sent down to the ECHL, because I think there's been some injury problems there on the defensive end for both the Phantoms and the Reading Royals. But I'm thinking that's going to happen for the Flyers the next couple days or so. Whatever happens after this trade is that I think I think there's going to have to be a roster move now because he just lost Weal and there's a spot open. But I think Nicholas Aubé-Kubel will be sent up to fill in the forward gap that was lost with trading by Jordan Weal. But I think then he will be in, and I don't know if that will actually happen, but I think Dale Weiss would then become the healthy scratch. That'd be great for, I think, the Flyers. He hasn't played very well of late, really. Well, or he played better at some parts of the season, but not great. So I think it should be interesting. I think what happens now. I think if you do put Aubé-Kubel up or trade or bring him up or whatever, I think that's a great start and everything. I lost my train of thought, honestly. But that could help the bottom 6 possibly more. Or Aubé-Kubel brings more speed and talent. Obviously, this season for the Phantoms has been playing really well, both him and Phil Myers, which then begs the question whether if they make a trade for a defenseman, say a Gudas or someone like that, or Fullen or whatever. Not that I've heard anything or seen anything saying that, but if they were to trade one of them, I wonder if they'd then have a spot for Myers to come up. And obviously, goaltending too would be another situation, but I'll get to that in a little bit. But I think this was not a particularly great trade, getting a 6th-round pick for Jordan Weal. I honestly thought you could get more. The Flyers, or Dave Hextall got a 3rd-round pick for Zach Ronaldo. I think you could have gotten more. Got more than a 6th round in a ECHL defenseman for Jordan Weal, especially if you wait like a month closer towards the deadline next month to make the trade. You probably get more in return. But if you're a Coyotes fan, you're happy because you've gained a good player. He's not great. At times he's hasn't been the best, but he's a good, solid player. Some of his advanced stats show that he's a good player and everything. He's been one of the few players, second power play wise, that was able to enter the zone, which few of the other ones seem to be able to do. Which will probably be a little loss for the second unit, but seeing how he was benched again after coming back, it was probably no surprise that he was probably going to be another person that gets traded out of here. But yeah, as I said, I think personally he could have gotten more for him. But, that was Chuck Fletcher's first trade and everything, so we'll see what he has in store for the rest of them. And I hope that doesn't say what this trade or anything. Probably it's it's a nothing trade, but I hope it doesn't spiral into what his trades will be going forward, and that he gets his trades don't like fall, or like in Edmonton where they're trading away good players for okay, not really great returns. That's something I fear that with Chuck Fletcher that I don't want to happen. Nothing's really led me to believe that way or anything, so we'll see what happens. And I think if the Flyers, if you get a good, if you don't do very well, I think it's still a positive or benefit for the Flyers. Many people will probably disagree with me just because of how poorly the team has been and everything. But on the grand scheme of things, if you had another player that just adds another star or whatever, hopefully, to your team, that on paper should already be pretty good and not where they were, more of the team that they were last year, which everyone probably was hoping would be and everything, but being last in the Metro, and the other day before their game, they were statistically last, and now it's not. They're now 3rd last just after that win, and they could actually get out of the hole if they beat New Jersey tomorrow afternoon, which we'll have to wait and see, but even so, I think it's still better to kind of call it a lost season and just see what happens. See what you can get out of a Wayne Simmons type of deal and everything. And hope you don't blow up the team too terribly much. That doesn't hurt the team and actually benefits them more than hurts them. But yeah, I think for now the team. Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna get to. Goaltending. Over the next couple weeks, what's gonna happen there? I'm also worried, or I'm curious about what the team's gonna do, because Stolar's practiced today, and he'll probably be back soon. Same with Neuvert. And I'm assuming when he comes back, McKenna would just be waived since he didn't play very particularly well against Washington. He was just really there, I guess, because Neuvert got hurt again. But obviously, I think if you're a Flyers fan, if you want to come to the games, just go to see Carter Hart. Even the games the Flyers have lost, he's looked pretty well in, actually. He's only allowed a few goals where you wish you would have had him, but for the most part, he's played really well, especially of late. The last 2 games he played, he was playing really well. I thought for sure he was going to get a shutout last night. Unfortunately, he didn't, but still, he played very well. And that's just someone you can just, even with how poorly the team's been, just something to come and see. Well, I can't, because who knows what's going to happen. I hope it's one of those things where um, they have Neuvirth as a healthy scratch, Carter Hart as the backup, and Brian Elliott the starter, something like that. But who knows? It might just be they send Hart down, but I hope not. Once everyone starts getting healthy, but my thinking is once Stolarz comes back, he'll just probably go back down to the Phantoms because I don't think at the moment Hart has played bad enough to get sent down, but we'll see what happens. Obviously, so we'll see. I do like Carter Hart and his game. There's a lot to be excited about there for the future. What happens with the team going forward is obviously the question mark, but you can be pretty confident if Carter Hart can keep this up for the whole career, he could possibly have what you lost in trading away Sergei Bobrovsky. Not saying he would be a goaltender like Bobrovsky when his career or whatever, but I'm saying he was probably the last goalie the Flyers had that was pretty good or whatever, young player or goaltender. It's just kind of fun to see a young goaltender that has potential to be great and obviously positive for the Flyers, which they haven't had for a while. Obviously, the defense obviously becomes a problem, even though of late it's the offense that's been slowing. That's been the problem. So, I don't know about this team anymore. It's just a lost cause, and if you're this season you're just saying I don't feel like watching because you don't feel like watching the dumpster fire of the Flyers, it's totally understandable because the team has not looked particularly well. They look outplayed and all the time and everything. So, obviously you'll probably get shit from other Flyer or other fans, but who cares? But it's just sad. It's just hard to watch at times. So, but now we'll see what happens. Let's look at the schedule going forward. Obviously there's the game tomorrow afternoon against the Devils in New Jersey, and then they have 3 more games after that before they go on their All-Star break. 2 at home, 1 away against Minnesota, Boston, and Montreal. And since I'm here, I might as well do a little prediction. I could see the Flyers winning possibly 2 games. Maybe. I could see them winning tomorrow and against Montreal maybe. I'll say they go 2-2-1. No, sorry. There's only 4 games. Sorry, I counted 5. I'm dumb. 2-1-1. I'll probably say. Actually, no, 2-2. They go 2-2. They'll win 2 and lose 2. They won the first and last game, I think, of the 2 away games. I think they lose their 2 home games because Minnesota last season, if you saw those games, if you remember those games, the Flyers looked out or did not look well, and I don't know how well that's going to be or defensively or everything. So, even though I do believe this season that Wild have not played particularly well, but they're 5th in the Central with 47 points, which is still 10 points higher than the Flyers, just about. But still, they're a team that you probably would have thought would have, or I guess maybe people probably had them around here, Minnesota. They're always a weird team of where you think they'd be, but I think that's probably pretty close to what I think is going to happen because I think the Flyers could beat New Jersey. I don't think that's a very tough team to have to beat. And obviously, they're only a point ahead of you in the standings if you're looking at it points-wise. Yeah, they have 39 points. They have 38. The Flyers have 2 more regulation losses. They have one more overtime loss. The Flyers have played one more game than New Jersey, so they've played about 500 in the last 10 too. But they are good at home. 11-5-4 at home, 5-15-3 away. But I still think the Flyers could probably win that one. I think they'll lose against Boston because with a team, the Flyers that are struggling this much, I think it's just something that's going to continue in Boston because I feel like they're a team that can make the Flyers pay. They're still holding strong with third in the Atlantic, so they're a playoff team. They're a tough team, and I don't think the Flyers are going to be able to beat them. And Montreal, I think the Flyers could also beat. They are fifth in the Atlantic. They've actually played pretty well this season. 51 points, 23-17-5. Yeah, I think the Flyers can beat them. They've been 6-4 in the last 10. Boston's been 7-3 in the last 10, and Montreal and Minnesota's been 5-4-1 in the last 10. Or if you're just thinking of how well the Flyers have played in the past couple of games, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't win any of them or only one of them. Just because they almost lost 9 straight. I honestly thought they could have gone 10, but I actually think they could win against New Jersey too. And then they get a break for a little bit, which would probably be helpful for the team. And it's definitely going to be that time Chuck Fletcher's going to think about his team and what he's going to do next. If you're a Flyers fan, just kind of keep a look at that. Obviously, there's still a lot of things to kind of look forward to. Not really, but just to kind of see what Fletcher does as the new GM. He made his first trade today. Obviously, it's not the best, but we'll see what happens there. Obviously, if the rumors are true and the Flyers do trade Simmons, what you can get in return, obviously it would be a playoff team that would possibly be getting him or trading for him or wanting him at either a team in the playoffs or right on the cusp of being in the playoffs, but think he could be someone that could help push them forward. What that team is, I'm not quite sure. I don't think Toronto would be in it because I don't think they're going to be interested in the rental that Simmons would be in. He would obviously just be a rental for the talent they still have to sign. Tampa Bay maybe just because they don't really have a power forward. I don't see them really trading with anyone in the Metropolitan, so maybe Buffalo. Montreal possibly, I don't know. I doubt they trade with that Boston or Boston either because they're pretty good power forward wise. Nashville and Winnipeg, you can see possibly wanting to get him, thinking they could add another piece that could help outplay the other because they really are the two of them battling for first in the Central, which is exciting to see. So, which will be exciting to see for the finish of the season. Dallas could be another one, maybe. Probably not, actually. Probably not Dallas. Colorado, maybe Minnesota. They're only 2 or 3 points back of Dallas for third in the Central. And yeah, maybe. There's just a couple teams that think they could be traded to. But they're asking my price might be a little high for Chuck Fletcher because the one downfall would be not many teams would be wanting to give up what Chuck Fletcher is asking for, or is said to be asking for just a rental for the end of the year, and not really sure if they're really had the cap space or want to be able to resign Wayne Simmons. Because it would appear that Simmons' career, whether it's at this trade deadline or not, this is probably his last year in Philadelphia. So it was a great run, but who knows what's gonna happen there. The team's probably could look different a month from now, depending on how much Chuck Fletcher blows it up or trade wise. The first shot was fired pretty much from Chuck Fletcher and trading Weal today. What happens in the next couple of weeks, we'll have to stay by, and you'll be sure that both I and Jeff are on the Mike and Mitch podcast. If you want to hear us on there, we'll obviously bring it forward. And if I haven't bored you enough, maybe you'll want to give us a listen on there. So, and Mitch will occasionally be on there too, since it is the Mike and Mitch podcast. So we'll see what happens. We'll obviously be bringing you up to date and everything, giving you our opinions and everything if you care for them or just kind of want something to listen to in the background while you do other work. No matter what, you'll be sure to know that we'll be here to give you that. So yeah, just keep a lookout on the Mike Whitmer podcast and the Mike and Mitch podcast for more. And like I said, to start the podcast, that Jeff is a little more busy nowadays, so it might be more solo podcasts for me. So if this is something you want to hear, me stumble through podcast after podcast until I get good enough where I'm not mumbling and everything and talking out of my mind, then keep listening, and be glad to have you. But until then, I'll catch you on our next podcast, no matter or wherever it will be.